Welcome to chapter number 8, project tracking. As per SDLC cycle, we know that once the requirement analysis is done, we are in the planning stage, then plan it properly, and now we start execution. So during execution, the project tracking is very important process. So let us elaborate on that. So tracking is the process of checking the status and progress made in the project with respect to the plan. The purpose of tracking is primarily to identify or judge whether the project is on track, it is going on as per the schedule, and other elements related to plan are intact. The project tracking is the process of monitoring a project progress against the original plan. So we are just mapping when it is under progress, whether they are going as per the defined plan. That is the whole idea of project tracking. Now, purpose, it is elaborated in pointers. Okay. Evaluate the status of the each task with reference to the schedule and plan. So each and every task has to be verified in the tracking process. Then we have to evaluate the status of each milestones. So after particular tasks are achieved and number of tasks are achieved, we can identify the milestones, especially it is in Gantt chart or in scheduler. These are defined, and we have to verify that whether that milestones are as per the schedule and as per the plan as whole. The judge the extent of progress made since the last tracking meeting. So see, tracking is periodic. Every certain interval you have to perform. So you have to verify the progress from previous achievements to the next level of achievements. So we have to compare that with the progress going as per the plan. They evaluate the extent of carrying over of work from this period to the next. So the amount of work done that we have to evaluate. Then we have to how the period gone by has taken the project closer to the goal. So over a period you have to see how we are moving nearing to the goal achievements, final deliverables, so that ultimately figure out through the tracking. To calculate the new asking rate, now asking rate is something, suppose you are lagging in terms of project, so we have to gear up, you have to enhance your speed of operation, or you enhance the team, you have to mobilize the team, or motivate by doing some extra hours of working. So that is called asking rate. It is the term coming from the cricket, is like 2020 match. Suppose your run rate, it is asking rate. How we have to accelerate, accelerate the run rate so that we can meet the target in a given number of limited overs. So that is what is the asking rate. To check the status of the critical items identified during the previous, so we have to see the critical elements, milestones, and overall other objectives are critically defined and evaluated against the plan. Detect new risk and new critical areas. So probably this is one of the important aspect. Any new risks pop up in the given process and how to mitigate that. Why are project late? Maybe unrealistic deadlines established by someone. So during planning itself, we have failed and we have not defined the schedule properly. We have not taken care of it. So probably there itself, the things may failed. So that we have to take care. Changing the customer requirement. Sometimes customer project, what we have defined at initially, and then over a period can drift and new things pop up, and then probably your project get rescheduled or delayed and all that sort of thing. An honest underestimation of amount of efforts and number of resources that will be, these are two important aspects. What is effort required? So we have studied in the previous chapter effort calculations. Okay, your team capacities and the resource allocation, the resource requirements are there in properly in place, then only you can ensure the project is going in proper fashion or proper in process of enhancement. So that is what we have to ensure. Predictable and unpredictable risks that were not considered when in the planning. At the time of planning, we are not estimated certain things which suddenly popped up, and that is like risk element, which are mostly uncertain, and those may delay the project. Commence the project commence itself may take time sometime, especially in government projects. There are many procedural delays, and that may lead to the commencement. Technical difficulties, that is another important aspects. Maybe some equipment is not available, or some technical support is not available, manpower itself is not available, that can foresee the delay. Human difficulties, what I just said, that can be a very important thing. People are not available, adequate people. Miscommunication among the project staff. Communication also, there is one more chapter. So miscommunication, or misleading communication, we can say misunderstanding, can lead to the delays. Failure by project management, so recognize the project behind the schedule. So tracking will take care of all this basically, and we have to focus on this aspect so that my project should be moving smoothly as per the schedule with the available resources. So what to track? So task scheduling during the period overview, the status of the reference to schedule. So mostly your planning and your running is to be mapped, and that you have to track. So these are some pointers that you can go through. What are the things we have to ensure? Okay, which already discussed the same preparedness and readiness and all that thing. So that you have to check. So these are few things which you really monitor as a checklist while doing tracking. Now this is matrix, something very important. We have to identify these various elements of matrix. First is size, scope, and project has been changed. The project scope, as I said, is initial, we can say, defining the project. When you have taken the scope of the project, that is very, very crucial, which will determine the size, and your entire planning will based on that size. Okay, the project is minor, major, what are the complexity of the project, all this will come into picture when you define the scope of the project. We should not change vigorously over a period. Some small changes of course we can absorb, but not the major changes. So that will determine your size. Efforts, so based on your complexity, your scope, what efforts are required, that is very important judgment to judge the amount. So as per planning, so when you are actually executing the plans, you have to ensure that your efforts are sufficient enough, or you are calculated properly at the time of planning, the efforts required and efforts available. So that is very important. Time, uh, time perhaps related to various other factors. So time is dependent on the your team efforts, your team capabilities, resource availabilities. So all external internal elements are there which can slip out sometime and lead to the delays. So that is what you have to monitor. Cost, this is again the judgment deviation of the cost, because when you are planning, you are not only planning the time schedule but only the funds required from time to time, and the cash flow. So all those things we have to check whether it is in line or whether it is getting uh, off the track. Quality, this is another important aspect. When you are defining the quality at the time of scope finalization and even the planning stage, whether that is met when the project is progressing. Okay, and sometimes you have to do rework required to judge the process to ensure the quality. So rework may consume more time and maybe cost also sometimes. So that aspect you have to consider. People matrix, people performance, their availabilities, because their skill sets, their competencies, all this will affect the final people's contribution. So this is important matrix that you have to consider when you are tracking the project. Milestones, these are somewhat, when you define the plan, you must have chalked out the milestones in Gantt chart especially, and critical path, all those things we are learn in the scheduling and all. So that is where the milestone will come into picture. Milestone is a task of zero duration that shown an important achievements in projects. uh, so it is an important achievement. Milestone is a progress at certain stage where you can say yes, this is the major achievement. Milestone should be presented clear sequence of event that incrementally built up until your project is completed. So it is step by step levels, or the we can say objectives over a period in the project progress. So that will give us the clear picture. So we are moving in the right direction and we are achieving the schedule, achieving the objectives clearly. The milestone identifies the planning stage of the project. So obviously, key milestone means the key events, that stage. So any project has got some particular achievements or remarkable achievements that you have to define. So that is called milestone. Milestone is also equation for reflecting this. So this is all definitions of milestone. You have to time to time evaluate that we are in line with the milestone, and any issues or lagging, that you have to compensate by rescheduling, redistributing, and appropriately acting so that you always meet the required schedule with respect to milestone. Now, asking rate is a term which I already explained previously in the other slide. So, new asking rate. So, we have to compensate for the delays or the lagging, so that you ensure that we are always in align with the plan. So, tracking, this is one something which we focus on. Project execution. So, when you are going through SDLC cycle, it is testing, design, redevelop, implement and redevelopment. So all this is going as a cyclic thing. So it is the execution part. So develop products or services. So all this we have to see the life cycle, the project life cycle itself, which we studied in SDLC. That particular model what we are following, that must be taken care of. So these are the three major main activities: kicking activity off, collecting output of the activity, collecting the information about the project. So basically, when you are performing some execution, it is set of activities, and when to stop and monitor and see that the output submitting to the requirements or not. That is what is the project execution tracking. Prepare, anticipated during the prior phase. So control execution, control utilization, all the plans, schedules, procedure, template that were prepared and anticipated during the prior phases. So SDLC cycle, we see that there are a lot of cyclic movements, and starting from planning to uh, design to implementation, all things we have to take into consideration. Well, these are the list. This is the list of different uh, roles, we can say, which are there in any project. Starting from project manager, project sponsor. Manager is to manage the things. Sponsor is maybe funding things. Project team members, they are having respective portfolios or the assigned tasks. Customer is also part of involved element in the project, rather most important, because we are developing something for them. Maybe customer representative may not be direct customer, but his own representative, maybe some consultants or analysts, business analyst, they deploy or we can say depute for your project. So that's very representative. Consumers, that is end users, we can say. Suppose you are developing product, so maybe end user you have to think about. So these are, and apart from that, there are few more stakeholders that differ from project to project. So these are major roles that we have to think when you are planning for execution, which are involved or active in the project execution. Now productivity is a term you have to be discussed mostly during execution. It is a ratio of output versus input. uh, that whenever we are having some resources or you're deploying some people for the particular task, the productivity is always a term which need to be monitored or to be discussed. uh, so we have to increase the productivity by different means. How we can increase it? So either by two means: increasing the output to the same level of the input. So output can be increased without increasing the inputs. Maybe production input output, maybe incorporating some new machinery, new technology, so you can increase and then improve the outputs. That way you can use, or the people having more skills or more experience may give good output, same level of input. So retaining the things as the same input, and then reducing the input for the same level of output. So another way, the ratio, because ultimately it is a productivity ratio. Either you increase output, keeping input constant, or reduce input to out skipping output constant, so that ultimately productivity goes high. So we have to take care of this productivity. And how we can do it? You can avoid absentees, breaks, reworks, minimum reworks, unplanned meetings. So these are all time killers, or barriers rather, obstacles, which we should avoid, so that my productivity will retain, and ultimately we can achieve the project objective in time, and we'll go as per the plan. Escalation. This is another term you have to get acquainted with. Sometimes some issues are there in the project, you try to resolve it, but within a team, within a department, will not work out. So you need to escalate the things as per the hierarchy to the higher ups, so that it will be resolved, or at least being get informed, so that they should be in the picture, and any issues are there, they should be aware of. So that is the escalation. Helping many times it help us to remove the deadlocks situations, because sometimes some conflicts are there and project remain in standstill position, and there are arguments. So probably you have to escalate the matter to higher ups, and they may come into picture and may resolve the things. Then there is a one more important term, earn value method. This is EVA, earn value analysis rather. So earn value method is judging the progress of the project based on the actual cost incurred up to the date of tracking versus plan cost. So how our things are moving, our progress is moving, it can be evaluated over a period based on the involvement of cost. So what we have planned, so there is a plan value. So PV, this is the graph, we can say the, this is my plan graph. We can say this is my plan graph, right? Against which we can see actual, uh, we can plot this actual expenses, actual cost, okay, and even earn value, basically what we are earn in the sense directly, indirectly achieve, what we have invested and what we have achieved. So that is what is earn value. Okay, up to date means you have to continuously monitor over a period, at least in weekly basis. So that is what is called earn value analysis. These are all different pointers for analyzing the outcomes. So different pointers you can go through. Need not to elaborate on this, they are self-explanatory. So we have to track during the project planning. Finally, these are some tools, because tools make our life easy. Software tools which help us to organize, better organize, and probably you required software and hardware to implement all these things, but it help us to great extent. Thank you.